So it is a great pleasure to be here with Father Thomas Keating and to bring together these two contemplative traditions, the Christian contemplative work that Father Keating is doing and the Sufi tradition to which I belong. And what I wanted to start with actually was something that moved me very much a few years ago when a few words of Father Keating in the film One, in which he describes a spiritual journey towards becoming the other with a capital O, and finally coming to the realization that there is no other. You and the other are one, always have been, always will be. You just think that you aren't. It is that primal oneness that I would like us to explore together, which is really one of the great mystical secrets that is given to us. The Sufis describe it as, I am he whom I love is me. And it is something so simple and yet so deeply profound, and in my understanding something that we need to claim back in this world of divisiveness, in this world of insularity, and really to go back to that very simple but quite wonderful, quite extraordinary knowing that belongs in the heart of all of us, that there is no other, that there is this extraordinary oneness of which we are a part, to which we belong. And the mystic is often given a direct experience of that oneness. And yet every person has that knowing within their heart. And often through prayer, through meditation, we are taken to that place of oneness, to that very primal awareness. And then we have to hold it. We have to return to this place of oneness, to this place of love, to this place of knowing. And bring it into our practice, and bring it into our life, bring it into our community, and bring it into the world in which we live, which is, I feel, has a great need for it. And I wanted to explore that oneness a little bit from a mystical point of view. There are many different ways, of course, one experiences that. In fact, probably every experience of that oneness is unique, is a new revelation of the divine. But there is this experience in the heart, or experience in oneself, in which you are the oneness, in which you are this complete whole, in which you are that with a capital T. And it is not that you are part of something, but you are that whole. In fact, everything, not just you, but everything, even this chair, is that whole. Everything is that divine presence. Everything is that divine knowledge. Everything is that living presence of oneness. Because God is one. And God is alive. And in that awareness, you hold it. You hold this knowing of this divine presence, of this, which is complete. It is one of the mystical experiences that everything in each moment is complete. We live in a world in which we are somehow given this consciousness of incompleteness, that there is something to which we have to strive, something to which we have to go towards, some dream we have to follow. But in this experience, it is God, it is complete. And it is like to honor that within oneself, to honor that completeness of which we are made. Because to say that we are not complete is in a way to deny the completeness of God, to deny His perfection. It seems in this world of appearances, of course, that we are imperfect, and in many ways we are, but there is this deeper truth within us, that we hold this mystery of God in the world. And somehow, once we awaken to that, or once we even have a glimpse of it, I always think we have a responsibility to live it, to live this mystery of the divine in this world. And of course, there are spiritual practices, whether practices of prayer or, for example, practices of breath, that help us to remember, that help us to reconnect with this innate knowing that we are that oneness, we are that divine presence. It isn't somewhere else. It is this responsibility to return it to life, to give it back to life, to give it back to ourselves, to give it back to our family, to give it back to our environment, and to give it back to the world. It's very, very, very simple. My teacher, she said, mystics teach simple things, but those simple things change people's lives. And just the simple awareness that we have divine presence within us is not complicated. You don't have to read a book to get there. You don't have to study a course to get there. You have to go within yourself, and you find this spark in your heart, which is one of the greatest secrets of what it means to be a human being. To have this spark in the heart, to have this divine spark, the spark of the soul, the spark of the self, of the Atma. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's this living presence within you. Every child that comes into the world carries it. It is the mystery of the divine that is present in every human being. And of course, part of spiritual practice is to reclaim it and to live it. And then there is there comes this knowing that you are not just living it for yourself, because there is no individual self. One of the experiences of oneness is there is no such thing as your individual self. I always say this is the greatest myth that is propagated by our culture, that you are separate individual self. And in this knowing of oneness, you realize you are the whole and you are part of the whole. And so when you live it for yourself, when you live it in your own practice, in your own presence, this simple spark in the heart, it is the most precious thing that you have, if you knew how precious it was. As Rumi says somewhere, why do you sell yourself for so little, you who are so precious in God's eyes? And it is that spark, that light, that divine presence that is your spiritual heritage. It is what is real inside of you. And when you live it, with whatever practice or prayer you live it with, you live it for the whole. Your heart is the heart of the world. There is no other. There is nothing else anywhere else. This is, again, one of the kind of conditioning that it's somewhere else. But there is nothing anywhere else. There is this incredibly beautiful saying by Meister Eckhart when he said, God is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. I meditated on that for a long time because I found it so profound. God is a circle whose center is everywhere. That means wherever you are or wherever anything is, it is the center of God. Again, something very, very simple but infinitely profound. Wherever you are, within you is that center. It's everywhere. And that is why the simple return within oneself I think it was St. Augustine who said, return within oneself, in one's inner presence is God. That simple act of returning within oneself, wherever you are, returning to that spark, to that divine core of your being. And then you, in Sufi practice, we breathe on it. Through the awareness of breath, we breathe on that spark within the heart. And it is that breath of remembrance, because if you breathe consciously, it is a remembrance that makes that spark come alive, that wakes up that spark. And of course, eventually, it becomes the divine fire that consumes you. As Rumi was, when he described his whole life, he said, I burnt and I burnt and I burnt. And in a way, I often feel all spiritual practice is a way of working with that spark within the heart, of working with that light within the heart, so it becomes a fire, so it consumes you. So then it isn't just a momentary realization of oneness, it is, you can't even imagine that you are not that. There is no part of you, I think, when Rumi said, his whole being just became that. And that is really it isn't a goal because there is no goal, but it is present within that spark that is within your own heart, that is the living presence of God, that you can live with, that it can become your life. If you knew how precious it was, it is so valuable. It is really the most precious thing you have. And it is in a way God taking you back to God. Or as the Sufis say, it is God remembering himself within your heart. And what a beautiful idea to realize that your heart is a place of divine remembrance. It's a place where God comes to know himself yet again within your heart. That your heart is this place where this mystery of divine incarnation takes place. It is, in my sense, it is really what we are here to live, to experience. That mystery of divine incarnation, of God coming to know himself in your life, in your heart. And in a way, all you ever have to do is to say yes. This is again something very, very simple. It is not complicated. The Sufis say it is the consent that draws down the grace. You just have to say, yes, I want to live this divine spark within the heart. This is what has meaning to me. I want to be a place where the divine comes to know himself in his world. I was a hidden treasure and I longed to be known, so I created the world. And then you participate in this divine mystery, in this living presence of God within your heart, within the world. I personally feel that is the greatest contribution you can make to life. Because, as I was sharing with Father Keating earlier, it is like we have forgotten that the world belongs to God. We have forgotten something so essential. And we busy ourselves doing 10,000 things and trying to save the world in 10,000 ways. But without his presence, what is the point of saving anything? What is the point of changing anything if he is not there? What is the point of building the most beautiful house if he is not welcomed into it? If that divine knowing is not there? Because that is what gives anything meaning. That's what gives your life meaning. That's what gives the world meaning.